So, this is about growing up in the 30s and 40s. So, what clothes did you wear when you were a kid?
Well, I was born in 1939, so I didn't grow up in the 30s. But the clothes that I wore in the 40s, oh, gee. We didn't wear pants. We wore shorts, skirts, and dresses, and shoes were just whatever we could get. Just saddle Oxfords, if you know what a saddle Oxford is, and penny loafers.
So, the next question is, was there a popular movie, and what was it?
Oh, we had lots of movies. Most of the movies we watched were westerns with Roy Rogers and Gene Autry, and the Lone Ranger. Do you know who those are? Okay, you'll just have to look them up. Roy Rogers, he had a horse named Trigger, and then the Lone Ranger wore a black mask. They were both good guys, and Gene Autry was a singing cowboy. He sang a lot.
This is a question that all of us agreed on. So, how did you message people?
Oh, we just went to their house. We had no telephones, no internet. We didn't know anything about that. So my friends, I just would go to their house, and we didn't even knock on the door. We just walked in.
What did you and your friends do for fun?
Rode our bicycles. Went to the creek in the summertime. Went swimming in the creek. Roller skated. At our school, we had a sidewalk that went about 3/4 of the way around the front and one side and around the back, and we'd roller skate there.
What was your favorite food?
Fried potatoes. My mom would cook dinner, and she would fry bologna, and bologna is round, if you know. And Daddy would come and sit down at the table, and he'd say, "Oh, we're having round steak tonight, aren't we?"
What was your first job, and what age did you get your first job?
Well, if you call picking cotton my first job, I was probably about 12 years old. And I did get paid for doing that. Not very much, so much a pound. If you picked 50 pounds that day, it was like 6 cents a pound. So at the end of the week, they paid us in cash. And some weeks, if I had a good week, I might make $25.
Other than that, what was your first job? After picking cotton, what'd you do, like, when you were a teen?
I had no job when I was a teen. There wasn't any place in my hometown to have a job for teenagers.
When you were like a grown-up, did you have any?
Not until after my kids were all grown did I have a job, and that was at the daycare.
She did have a really important job before that. She had to raise all them kids.
Yeah.
That's a tough one, too. They were bad. You know your GG.
Okay. What was school like in the 1940s?
My school was, we did not have kindergarten. We had 1st through 12th grade, and it was a U-shaped school. And when you went in the front door, you went to go to the elementary part of it. You went to the left hall and down and through the auditorium, and the 1st and 2nd grade room was together, and the 3rd and 4th grade room was together. And then back before you got to the auditorium to go over to those two rooms, the 5th and 6th grade room was together. And then once we got into the 7th grade, we had the 7th and 8th graders together. And the teacher would teach, say in the 1st and 2nd grade, we had one teacher. And part of the day she would teach the first graders, and the other part of the day she would teach the second graders.
What career did you want as a kid?
I always wanted to be a school teacher.
Nice. Okay. Did you have electricity or plumbing?
No,
Nice. Okay.
not until I was almost grown.
So all growing up, you didn't have any electricity?
The 3 years that we lived in Douglas, we had electricity and running water. But before that, we had no running water or electricity. And when we moved back home to move in with my grandmother to take care of her, we had no running water. And all of the kids, I was in the 6th grade then. And all of my aunts and uncles got together and put an electric pump on our well so that they could pump water into the house. And then the town had gotten electricity by then.
So, did you make your own toys?
Some of them, yes. I had what was called paper dolls. And I could go to the dime store, which would be like a bookstore, I guess, or what was called the 5 and 10 store was Woolworth and Emmy Moses and places like that, and they had books and what was called paper dolls, and they were like 25 cents and they were like in a book like what you've got right there, and it was paper dolls, girl dolls and boy figures, the whole figure that you could cut out with scissors, and then they had clothes in there that you could cut out to change their clothes. And then I had a relative of mine had a house built, and they had all this little bitty furniture that they had designed the inside of their house for, and when they were finished with it, they gave it to me. So I could set up a living room and a bedroom and a kitchen, and our paper dolls would go in those rooms. And then a lot of times when I didn't have the money to go buy a paper doll book, I would take the Sears and Roebuck catalog and cut out paper dolls.
Okay. How was your family affected by the war and the Great Depression?
None of my dad didn't have to go to the war. I don't know that I had any relatives other than an uncle that went to the war and didn't come back. He was killed in action. But during World War II, food got rationed. You couldn't get a lot of sugar. You couldn't get just flour, just basic needs of food. And they would give the people what was called ration stamps. And they could use those ration stamps to buy sugar with and gasoline for your car. Remember back when we had COVID and they rationed toilet paper and all kinds of things they rationed. That was basically like it was during World War II, but they gave people ration stamps. I don't know how my mother got them, but I do remember her using them. They came in little booklets, and they had to use those.
Okay. What are the biggest differences between how right now and back then when you were a kid?
A lot of differences. Kids now have cell phones to where they can correspond with anybody all over the United States. We had nothing like that. We couldn't talk to anybody in another country. We had a radio then that we could listen to. If we were lucky, we had a radio. Now you have radios, you have
built-in radios
into cars, yes. Back then, if you had an expensive car, you had a built-in radio. But I don't remember our car ever having a radio or an air conditioner in our car. Yes, it was very hot. And when we would go someplace, and me and my three brothers would be in the back seat, and I would lay in the floorboard a lot of times, or up behind the seat was a little shelf like, and we would lay up there and ride. Food's a lot different now. We didn't have restaurants back then. I never got to go to a restaurant to eat. We ate at home all the time. We grew our own food in our gardens, and most people don't do that anymore. And my mother and all of her in-laws and my granny, I can remember them all getting together on a weekend, and the men going out and gathering corn out of the cornfield and bringing it, and they would can that corn, and they would go pick black-eyed peas, and they would can those peas and all kinds of vegetables. They would what you call canned. It was in jars, but it was they sealed them up. They cooked them in this big pressure cooker and seal them up, and then we had a storm cellar, in-ground storm cellar, that those vegetables were kept in that storm cellar where it was cool. That was one reason, and then another reason is because of storms, and you could go in there, and if it was a tornado, you would be safe. And we also, my grandparents killed hogs, slaughtered them and their own cattle and their own chickens, and the hogs would hang up in what was called a smokehouse. It wasn't sent to a slaughtering place like they do now and sent it to grocery stores. You could get some in grocery stores, but they did all of theirs. Save on money.
Okay, so that was all the questions. I don't have any more. Thank you for being with us in this interview. Do you have any more words you would like to say?
No, that I just love you.
I love you too.